to introduce Dr. Rosario Accardi. As I shared, I've known him for about 10 years. He is the founder of At-Home Active Motion Physical Therapy Services. It's a home-based rehabilitation service, and he started that back in 2006. He is the former director of rehabilitation at Elmhurst Care Center, and his professional expertise includes working with those with Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, MS, as well as stroke patients. Again, we're fortunate to have him today, so let's spend some time learning about his services and how he helps folks, and then answer any questions that you have. So again, Rosario, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Let's start with kind of an overview question that I have. We hear about PT a lot, but not so much always OT, but there's definitely a difference. So let's start with more of an introduction. What exactly does a physical therapist do, and what is occupational therapy, and what do they help with?
Sure. So a physical therapist is a skilled practitioner who focuses on lower extremities, such as your legs, gait training, working with ambulation, balance training, as well as, for example, standing balance, gait training, strengthening of the lower extremities, pain management as well. For example, you may have somebody who has low back pain or knee pain. So that's what a physical therapist focuses with.
Okay.
Whereas an occupational therapist focuses more with upper extremities, hands, activities of daily living, recommends adaptive equipment, such as reachers, grabbers, things to make activities of daily living, for example, putting on sneakers, putting on a jacket, things a lot easier. And
So
a physical therapist can also recommend adaptive equipment, for example, a rolling walker, grab bars in the bathroom, shower chair, things to make the home safer.
And that's exactly what aging is all about. I mean, and it's interesting, and I'm glad you shared it that way, because I never thought of it as a lower extremity versus upper extremity, but that's exactly what it is. So that's a good way to consider it. And in our work, in working with families, not so much on the planning and the protection side, but really on the care side, when we're brought on board to help a family secure care in the house, or funding of paying for care in the house, or assisted living in a nursing home, it is all about the ADLs. So there is, your services are completely a trigger to make sure our legal, financial, and care work is in place. So it's hand in hand.
I agree.
In fact, those that are receiving rehab, it's at that point where families are ultimately, or starting to even get jarred with the reality that mom or dad needs care, and that with this, whatever happened, stroke or other condition, they're not going to be able to live on their own. So they're going to need help when they get back home, or continued therapy services when they get back home. So it's critical, and we deal with it every day here. But a good majority of our clients, again, it'll be hospitalization, then it'll be a rehab facility. But you provide, and what you've been doing for 15 years is providing in-home physical therapy and occupational services. So what are the advantages of receiving that therapy, those therapy services in-house?
Sure. So initially, when a member is hospitalized, like you said, they're in the hospital, then they get transferred to a short-term rehab facility. Once they're transferred back home from a short-term rehab facility, most of, not all the time, I would say, they're sent home with what's called a certified home care agency, a CHA service, which is built on the Medicare Part A. Now, once they are discharged from the Medicare Part A and they require further therapy services, that's where we come into play and can continue the services on the Medicare Part B. And some of the advantages as far as getting physical or occupational therapy in the home is that you get that one-on-one interaction, that one-on-one attention, rather than possibly if you were to go, let's say, to an outpatient facility or another type of setting, whereas you may be seen, but you may be seen with 3 other clients at the same time. So you get that full one-on-one attention. Also now, especially now with the circumstances that are going around, with people who have a lower immune system, it may be difficult and hazardous for them to leave the house to, let's say, to go to an outpatient facility. So you're actually getting the treatment in the home. It's safer for an individual who has a lower immune system or if it's strenuous for them to leave the house, we get the family involved as well as the aide involved, if the aide is there, if it's applicable,
Right.
with the plan of care and the home exercise program as well.
Right. Fantastic. And you're right. The one-on-one is crucial. The health aspect, especially these days with the pandemic, it's very important. What are you doing? I'm sure you're addressing and get those questions as far as people coming into the house. So how are you handling that as a company?
So initially, when we make first contact with the patient, we'll call them or we'll ask a simple questionnaire. As a matter of fact, I have the questionnaire here. And the typical question would be, has anyone in the household been in close contact with somebody who has traveled in the past 30 days? If yes, where did they travel? If they say internationally, please advise them that they have to take precautions before entering the home.
Sure.
Has anybody felt sick in the past 14 days?
Right.
That's another question we ask as well. And if both questions are no, then we go in and we do our initial assessment.
Right.
And we ourselves take universal precautions. And for example, universal precautions would be a mask, hand sanitizer, and a temperature reader.
Got it. Okay, so you're doing that for folks before going into their houses anyway. Is that for
When we enter the home? Yep, when we enter the home, normally, like for example, a typical treatment session would be that we would go in and take vitals. Okay. But we ask the questionnaire prior to even going into the patient's or the member's house initially.
Yeah, of course, just like going to doctors and stuff today.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. And how many? It's not just you running around there. This company's growing. You're helping a lot of families every day. So how many PTs and OTs do you have?
We have about 21 to 22 therapists that cover Nassau County, Suffolk County, as well as Queens.
Great. Okay. Now, there used to be a time when, in order for you to be able to go in and be covered by Medicare, there was a homebound requirement.
Correct.
Is that still out there? Bedbound, homebound, how does that work? Can you help anybody? What has to happen before you can come in?
So back in 2018 or 19 of January of 2018 or 19, I'm not sure specifically which year, Medicare stated that if a client no longer has to be considered homebound in order to receive physical or occupational therapy in the home.
Got it.
So if you have an individual who has, let's say, once again, a low immune system, has difficulty exiting the house, it's very strenuous to leave the house, they require assistance to leave the house, they're unable to drive, or they have certain past medical history conditions that make it very difficult for them to leave the house, they can receive the physical therapy in the home. So you have clients that are considered homebound and bedbound, which is two different categories. An individual who's homebound is different, is a higher level of function compared to somebody who's bedbound, because somebody who's bedbound may not be ambulatory or probably is not ambulatory, whereas somebody who's homebound is ambulatory, but it's just strenuous to leave the house. Understood.
And okay, all right, that's good to know. The interesting thing again in how our services complement each other is one of our missions, of course, is just to get people to put the planning in place, get the protection in place before the need arises. So when we talk about folks that are in their mid 60s, we always want people to get not only a basic plan, not only your comprehensive power of attorney, but we want to start talking about asset protection. So if there's a long-term care need, and long-term care, as we've been talking about, is all of your ADLs. It's your activities of daily living, which is everything the PT and the OT work that you do. So if we can get families to get the basic planning in place, primarily a very comprehensive, durable, modified power of attorney, if we can start, as they get older, start looking at asset protection in case they need Medicaid to pay for long-term care down the road, then it really just demonstrates the whole continuum. That's what you're looking at, is somebody having fine functional and capacity issues, no capacity issues, and then perhaps there's a little limited function or a decline cognitively, and the continuum just progresses. So getting the plan, getting the protection in place, and of course, utilizing services like yours so that they can rebound, recover, and rehabilitate, it's huge. And
we definitely want to be proactive rather than reactive.
100%. All right. So let's say you go through your questionnaire and your protocols, and you're in the house. What's a typical treatment session? What are you covering?
Sure. So initially, we do, upon initial evaluation, we do a home assessment. As a matter
Okay.
of fact, I'll
Yeah.
piggyback on that later regarding a little pilot study that we're doing. But we do a home assessment to make sure that there's certain areas that are high walking areas,
Hmm.
are free of clutter,
Hmm.
and we want to minimize the risk of a fall. That's our overall
Sure.
goal. And
Sure.
once again, we want to be proactive rather than reactive. So an initial evaluation, we have a therapist that comes in, assesses the house, assesses for any equipment that's needed, rollator, a rolling walker, grab bars, a shower chair, and so forth.
Hmm.
And then once upon the start of the initial evaluation, we assess strength, range of motion,
Hmm.
transferability, walking ability, vitals, and the vitals that are taken most commonly are blood pressure,
Hmm.
pulse, as well as oxygen level,
Hmm.
as well as temperature as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
So once we take vitals and they're stable, then we can proceed with the initial evaluation. Once again, strength, range of motion, depending on if it's a physical or an occupational therapist, upper extremities or lower extremities, the ADLs,
Hmm.
transfers, bed mobility. These are all things that a physical and an occupational therapist can work on. Then we make a plan of care,
Hmm.
and we review the plan of care with the client. And then upon initial treatment session, we start building what's called a home exercise program. And we get the family as well as the aide involved in the home exercise program. And we update the home exercise program as needed.
Hmm. Understood. Understood. Makes sense. Can Are PTs and OTs, can one professional be both, or it's separate disciplines, PT and OT, so it's two different people?
It's two different healthcare professions.
Hmm.
A physical therapist can work with upper extremities.
Right.
An occupational therapist primarily does focus on ADLs. That's
Yeah.
primarily what they're focusing with
Got it.
ADLs,
Okay.
as well as hand therapy, unless a
Yeah.
physical therapist specializes in hand therapy.
Got it.
So, there's different sections or different areas
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
expertise that a physical
Okay.
therapist can focus with, as well as an occupational therapist, whereas a physical therapist may focus strictly on gait training, skilled gait
Hmm.
training,
Hmm.
whereas an occupational therapist focuses with the ultimate goal is to have mom or dad being able to get over the tub lip in
Hmm.
order
Yeah.
to take a shower or a
Sure.
bath.
Sure. Okay. Got it. At this point, do you want to? I know in my practice, when I hear about clients falling, it's a difficult thing because unfortunately, a fall can be debilitating and often lead to other concerns and decline. Do you want to get into that a little bit, or do you want to talk about like a safety checklist that you use?
Sure,
What do you
sure.
want
So
to do?
what we do initially, there's a little safety check off list, which
Okay.
we have here. And some of the things I'm just going to read off some of the top things that we definitely want to focus with is
I'm
we
bringing
want
that
to
up.
focus with making sure that all areas of the home are well lit,
Mhm.
especially areas that are in high walking areas.
Got it.
Then we also want to make sure that the floor covering is in good repair.
Mhm.
So for example, if you have an area of the room where the rug might be ripped, that or possibly there's a transition between tiles and rug, and the saddle
Mhm.
is lifted up and the rug is over the
Yeah.
saddle,
Okay.
due to, let's say, for example, Jane Doe ambulating a certain way and shuffling her feet, she's not lifting her feet, and she's more prone to hit that lip or
Mm.
that saddle or trip over that loose rug and
Mhm.
increase the risk for falls. So you always want to
Got
make
it.
sure that this floor covering is in good repair, electric cords are out of the way,
Mhm.
the main walking areas are free of clutter as well.
Good.
And then we can always piggyback on making sure that the toilet seat is a good height as well as the bed. And that's where the adaptive equipment comes into play, such as the raised toilet seat
Mhm.
or possibly what's called a stand assist rail, which can be put next to the bed in order to assist the client to get in and out of bed, or
Mhm.
possibly a hospital bed is needed.
Mm.
There's a lot of different factors that come into play when
Yeah.
assessing a client's home.
Okay. And you can make these recommendations and you can help get the equipment as needed,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yeah, we make a recommendation, let's say to the doctor or the nurse case manager. We write a case note, we fax it over to the doctor.
Right.
The client themselves, the family or the client has to get a script from their primary care physician regarding these types of equipment. Once they obtain that script, they can either fax it to us or notify us. We could then fax it over to, let's say, a nurse case manager or a specific or a certain DME company that's in network.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Interesting. All right. I'm going to stop sharing the screen here. If you want to go back through anything else, just let me know. Now, you just started getting into scripts and all that, and you mentioned Part A and Part B before.
Correct.
How is all of this paid for? And do doctors have to prescribe? Is it just Medicare? Is there other insurance that can help? So if you can get into how it gets started medically, authorized, and how does it get paid?
Okay. It really all depends on the type of insurance. We primarily take Medicare Part B. We do require a script from a PCP. However, you are able to see a patient up to 10 times without the script, but we always want to obtain a script for the initial evaluation. And then we have the doctor sign off on the plan of care, progress notes, as well as a discharge. And we get the case manager, if applicable, as well as the doctor involved in the plan of care with the family as well. As far as insurances are concerned, we take Medicare Part B, like I was stating, as well as what's called MLTCs, which I'm sure everybody's heard of now, managed long-term care insurances. We also take private pay as well as long-term care insurances. For example, John Hancock, MetLife, and so forth.
Okay, so and you can exhaust those as you go. So Part B will come in for a period of time.
Correct.
And then you can if you want to keep it going, you can then transition over to the long-term care.
Yes, if they have it. Yes.
Okay, if they have it, of course.
It's depending on if it's written. I guess it's called a binder. If it's in their binder.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. And then the MLTC, that's community Medicaid these days, right? So
Correct,
for
yes.
folks that aren't familiar with that, that stands for managed long-term care. That is the New York State inserted these MLTC agencies to kind of be the governor, if you will, as far as providing the care, as far as approving the care, as far as the amount of hours that'll be approved. They perhaps did it for various reasons, but it's really to limit the amount of care that the state has to pay for. So they're great, but they're also restrictive. So when we get involved helping a family with Medicaid, and especially within the community, as I've shared before in our program, we do it very differently. We, of course, have the attorneys and the paralegals, just like every elder law firm does, but we also have on staff our elder care coordinators. And they're the ones, the geriatric social workers, advocates, for example, RN, they're the ones that come in to assist and to coordinate the benefits as well as advocate for the client, your loved one, during the whole MLTC process. So it's, Medicaid is pretty complicated process. But having providers, of course, like Rosario and others is great because we do all we can to help keep them at home, and Rosario and his company do what they can to help keep your loved one at home, which is awesome.
That's our overall goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, facilities serve a place. A rehab facility, a nursing home definitely serves a purpose. But ideally, clients want to stay home, and that's what we're trying to do. Is there anything else you want to share, Rosario? Of course, I want to know, please tell people how they can contact you. Sure. But if there's anything else you want to share about other programs you're working on, please go ahead.
We're actually working on, we're in the process of working on a fall prevention pilot study.
That's huge.
Yep. So what we're doing is we're actually going into, clients' homes free of charge, and a licensed physical or occupational therapist comes into the house and does a full risk assessment. And then we let them know whether or not a mom or dad is a risk for falls and what steps they should take in order to minimize the risk for falls, and whether or not then if they're a good candidate for physical or occupational therapy.
That's great. Okay. And you're doing that free of charge?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So share, please. How can somebody contact you? Is there a website, phone number, email, whatever?
Sure. So our office cell phone, our office number is 866-605-5634.
Say it again.
And our fax number.
Say the phone again.
866-605-5634.
Okay.
And our fax number is 866-605-5654. So they're very similar, except one is a 34, which is the phone number, 54 is the
Got it.
fax.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And then, is there a website? Could you get that out there
Yes.
just so people don't have the numbers? They could always check there.
It's www.activemotionrehab.com.
ActiveMotionRehab.com.
So the name of the company is called At Home Active Motion Physical Therapy Services, DBA Active Motion Rehab.
Got it. Okay. All right, great. Is there anything else you'd like to share? I think we've covered a lot of important points on an introductory level. If anybody has any questions, they could, of course, just reach out to you directly about your
Correct.
services, about, again, getting it paid for through insurance. If anybody has questions about how we help families as an elder care law firm, 100% we're available. TullyElderLaw.com is our website. We do offer free consultations in helping families plan and protect, really protect assets and help your loved ones get the best care possible. So Rosario, anything else to share, or we're good?
Just the areas that we cover,
Please.
Nassau and Suffolk County,
Mhm.
and I'm sure everybody wants to know as far as we have therapists that speaks specific languages: Spanish, Italian, Hindi, Russian as well.
Wonderful. That certainly helps. Good. It was a pleasure having you, Rosario.
Likewise.
Let me see if we have any questions. All right, we do not have any additional questions, so I want to say again, thank you to our guest, Rosario. Wish
Thank
you the
you.
best. Enjoy the rest of the summer. And folks, if you have questions, reach out to Rosario or to myself. Again, thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
see
Have a
next
great day, guys. Thank you again.
time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.